This show is produced by the Hartman Media Company. For more information and links to all our great podcasts, visit hartmanmedia.com.
In the past 6 months, taken massive action, and that has not always been my MO. So I'm extremely thankful. I think this group has helped me shortcut some of those decisions and taking action. And that's really ultimately what it's about. I think that learning through taking action. And so I'm just very thankful for being able to do that and learning along the way, trying to hold on. And this group has been a big part of that. So thank you.
Welcome to the Creating Wealth Show with Jason Hartman. You're about to learn a new slant on investing, some exciting techniques, and fresh new approaches to the world's most historically proven asset class that will enable you to create more wealth and freedom than you ever thought possible. Jason is a genuine self-made multimillionaire who's actually been there and done it. He's a successful investor, lender, developer, and entrepreneur who's owned properties in 11 states, had hundreds of tenants, and been involved in thousands of real estate transactions. This program will help you follow in Jason's footsteps on the road to your financial independence day. You really can do it. And now, here's your host, Jason Hartman, with the complete solution for real estate investors.
Well, everyone, we have arrived. We have arrived at that special day, that momentous occasion. This is episode number 2000. Episode number 2000. Here we are. Wow. It's been a while. It's been a minute, as they say. Anyway, I was kind of thinking, what do I do for episode 2000? Should I have one of our many famous guests on the show? We've had so many famous guests over the years. We've had numerous presidential candidates, and I don't just mean some guy that said he wanted to run for president. I mean like real presidential candidates. The folks you saw in the presidential debates, Ron Paul, Ben Carson, Pat Buchanan, gosh, et cetera, et cetera. Andrew Yang, we had so many of them on the show. Steve Forbes, all of the rest. Should we have a famous guest on the show? Right? And we've had, countless thought leaders, authors. In addition to this show being at episode 2000, we have all of these other podcast shows as well. And overall, over the years, since I started podcasting back in 2005, we've had about 9,000 interviews, if you can believe that. 9,000, or I don't mean 9,000 interviews, 9,000 shows, because some of the shows I do myself, just as a monologue with no guest, but most of them have a guest. So yeah, a lot of history here. It's been a long time. And I guess I want to start, well, let me go back to that thing about what should we do for episode 2000, right? We were going to do kind of a compilation and let you hear a bunch of snippets from prior episodes, but then we just got to the point where we're thinking that would be too big. It'd be too unwieldy. We've had too many episodes. We've had too many guests. There's no way you could pack that all in to a 2-hour 2000th episode show. No, don't worry. This show won't be 2 hours. It's a normal length episode. But I thought the most important thing to talk about today on episode 2000, to mark the occasion, was really about the most powerful asset that you have at your disposal. And by the way, I'm a fan of leverage. I love leverage on real estate. I love using debt productively when it comes to buying income properties, the most historically proven asset class in the world, the most tax-favored asset class in America. But this asset you own free and clear already. And it is the most powerful thing at your disposal. It's the most powerful thing at my disposal. It's the most wondrous, amazing asset any of us have. And that is the human mind. It is at your disposal, and you can use it to do incredible, incredible things, as most of you already have done incredible, incredible things with your incredible free and clear mind. And the mind and the brain are not exactly the same thing, of course, but they're kind of used interchangeably. And I will do that in this episode. So when I say brain, I might be referring to mind or vice versa. But that's what today's show is going to be about. And fortunately, I had the lucky break of always being fascinated with the mind. I remember back in junior high school, I remember this girl, Robin, that I thought was really, really cute back in junior high school. I had a crush on her. I remember when I was walking down the stairs, she pulled a book out of my back pocket, a small paperback book that I had in my back pocket of my Levi's 501 jeans. And she pulled the book out and she said, "What are you reading?" And the book was this book. It was the Silva mind control method. And that is a very famous method and technique of controlling our minds to do amazing, amazing things. And I remember I was reading that back in junior high school. I was always very interested in the power of the mind. I was even interested in kind of the occult power of the mind. I remember I used to follow Edgar Cayce in the old days, and just any edge you could get by using the power of your mind. I used to read books on creative dreaming and self-hypnosis and all of this kind of stuff. And I can't say I ever got very good at practicing any of that stuff, but I was always fascinated by the power of it. And then at age 17, I got very lucky and I virtually met my four great mentors: Dennis Whateley, Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, Earl Nightingale. And they, again, further taught me about the power of the mind and the incredible power we all have at our disposal. I remember that I think it was Dennis Whateley, maybe Earl Nightingale, not sure, recommended that small, tiny book that you should all read called As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. You can get that anywhere. It's a very old book, but a great book. And again, it just talks about the power of your thoughts. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Right? And back to scripture, and you go back 2,500 years, and this stuff has been documented through scripture throughout the years. It's an amazingly powerful asset that we all have at our disposal. You own one, and it's free and clear, and you can use it to do absolutely incredible things. The placebo effect has been well documented over the years when it comes to health. And there are all sorts of studies on the placebo effect and all sorts of nuances to these studies, and how if they gave someone a fake pill that was completely inert and it didn't do anything, and they've studied what the doctor said the pill would do, and they've done that using different color pills and capsules, and people take the pill, or even they do an injection that is a placebo injection, and they will have miraculous pain relief or health benefits or whatever symptom they're having. It can be fixed through the power of the internal pharmacy at our disposal, the one we all own free and clear, and the endorphins, the serotonin, the dopamine, managing all of these things, truly amazing. I remember that Dennis Whateley introduced me to the book Anatomy of an Illness by I think he was a doctor, actually. I don't know, maybe he wasn't a doctor. I think he became a doctor. Dr. Norman Cousins. I want to say doctor. I think he did become a doctor, actually, but I might be wrong on that, so fact check me. Anyway, by Norman Cousins, and he went on to write a bunch of other books, and then I got interested in Dr. Bernie Siegel's books and just all of this great stuff about health and the influence of the mind. And I remember studying Wayne Dyer's work on psychosomatic medicine and psychoneuroimmunology. And I remember back when I was 24 years old, I picked up a program by a company called Cybervision and learned all about holographic brain theory. This is just incredibly fascinating, incredibly powerful stuff. And I thought that's what today's episode should be about. So that's what we're going to talk about. But before we get to that, and we're actually going to run a rather long segment, actually, from a show I did quite a while back, but I just thought it was so important that, really that would be the best thing for episode 2000 today. But before we do that, I just want to offer a heartfelt thank you to all of you who have followed my work for so long. I know that some of you have been listening to my content for 18 years. You've been listening for almost 2 decades to the stuff I've been publishing. And, I'm just totally honored. And that's the reason I do it. I mean, look, I became financially independent a long, long time ago. I don't need to do this. I don't need to work. I could just lay on a beach somewhere, but I'd be bored. I'd be bored out of my mind. So I do love doing it. But what really keeps me motivated and what really keeps me going and doing this is getting all this great feedback from you, knowing that the work we're doing together, that the content we're putting out, and many of you have been on the show. Many of you clients over the years have come on the show to share your experiences with investing or your life's journey or whatever. And we certainly appreciate having you on the show and would love to have more of you on the show. But getting the feedback from you on how this is impacting your life, how this work is important to you is super valuable. So we always appreciate you writing reviews and sharing the show with your friends and your family and your coworkers and just helping us get the word out. So we very much appreciate that. But I know that many of you have told me over the years that you've listened to every episode that I've published 2 or even 3 times, which is absolutely amazing. And some of you, if you're married and you're a couple and one of you discovered the show, and I've heard a lot of jokes over the years about the other spouse saying, oh, they made me listen to your show and now I can't get your voice out of my head. But anyway, I appreciate that so much, that you're listening to the show, that you're sharing the show, and that the work has been valuable to you. So we'll keep it going for many, many years to come. That's the plan. And hopefully in the not too distant future, here in about 3 years, I'll be talking to you about episode 3000. Then maybe 3 years after that, give or take, it's not exact, we'll be talking about episode number 4000, 5000, 6000, whatever. I don't know if my math's right on that, 3 years or what. Anyway, whatever, you get the idea. But a lot of episodes. Oh, I'm doing the number of days, not the number of episodes. That's right. But anyway, we'll be talking about episode 3000, 4000, 5000, 6000, 7000 in the future. And we'll keep it going for an indefinite amount of time. And just so much appreciate you listening and sharing the show with everybody. And so today, let's go to a piece from a prior episode, a piece that I did on the power of the mind, the most amazingly powerful entity that any of us have at our disposal, that you have at your disposal. And like Earl Nightingale says, you own one, free and clear. So use it to its highest and best use. I started getting into this stuff long before anyone ever said the word biohacking, right? So I figured that was a good topic for today's 2000th episode show. So let's go ahead and listen in to that. And again, thank you all for sticking with my work for so long, even for as long as 18 years, many of you. So we appreciate it. And here is that piece about the power of the mind. We are going off topic today to discuss something of general interest, not necessarily in the real estate or finance world, but it definitely relates to that. It always does. It always does. Because what is more important for anything in life than our mindset and our ability to manage the most amazing, most powerful force known to mankind, and that is our mind. That is the most powerful force of all, and it is a really, really important force. So we are going to talk, it's going to be a partial repeat today of something that I aired a long time ago when I did a little segment talking about the importance of guided visualization and the importance of managing our subconscious mind. One of the most amazing things is that our subconscious mind is always working in the background. It is literally performing zillions. And I mean, that's not an exact number, as you know, but it is performing zillions. Yes, more than billions of tasks and processes to maintain our body, to make our breathing happen, our entire autonomic system, our heartbeat, our cellular regeneration, just every sense. It is absolutely amazing. It has incredible power. It is working behind the scenes to shape our beliefs, our attitudes. Earl Nightingale said to ask, what is the role of attitude in someone's success or failure is like asking, what is the role of water in the Pacific Ocean? It's everything, right? It's so incredibly important. But our subconscious mind has a major flaw. However, this incredible, giant, gaping flaw in our subconscious mind can be hacked. And it can be hacked in a way that makes it a huge benefit. You know, they say that every cloud has a silver lining, every dog has his day, every disadvantage can be turned into a very powerful advantage. And with the subconscious mind, there is no exception to that. So, what is the flaw and how can we use it to our advantage? How can we exploit the flaw in the subconscious mind? How can we hack our brain to make it more powerful, to get it to do what we want it to do? Well, here it is. First, the flaw. Okay, this is the giant flaw. And it's a biggie. You ready for this? The subconscious mind cannot tell the difference. It is a terrible judge. It is a terrible judge because it cannot tell the difference between reality and something that is vividly and repeatedly imagined with sensory-specific detail. That is a giant flaw. You know, I indulged myself occasionally in a debate on Facebook. Almost always a complete waste of time, but it does sharpen my skills, okay? So it's not a complete waste of time, and it does broaden my understanding as I sometimes learn from people who are just clueless people, okay? Usually these are in the form of political debates, and you want to say to some people, get real, man. You don't know what you're talking about. Get real, right? Get real. Get in touch with reality. You're out of touch with reality, right? We think this about our fellow humans sometimes. You know, we think that they're just, where do they get these crazy ideas? Where do they get them from? Are they nuts? They're just so out of touch with reality. We say things like, they're not grounded. They're not grounded in reality. They're not on firm ground, right? And this grounding, if you will, in reality is something that the subconscious mind, it's just terrible at this. It is not grounded in reality, okay? You can imagine something and you can trick it. You can hack it. You can fool it. And you can do that in a very good and very powerful way. So what do we do? Since the subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between reality and imagination, okay, think of the last time you had a really powerful dream and, you know, you woke up and you thought that dream was so real. Sometimes you're thinking it was so great, I want to go back. Could I just please fall asleep again and go back? Sometimes people use substances or motion, literally motion. Like, why do we ride a roller coaster? Why do we ride a skateboard or a bike or surf a wave or ski down a hill? Because this motion changes our reality. It's like a drug. And people, of course, can do this with substances, and obviously they can abuse substances, very dangerous road. But, you know, there's a whole new field of psychedelics, right? Well, it's not a new field, but there's a new, shall we say, kind of interest and acceptance of this stuff as maybe a gateway into a higher or at least a different level of consciousness, right? And so this can move us into these different states, these different planes of reality. There are many books on these subjects, and the famous poem by Coolidge was written after he consumed opium. I guess he smoked it. Is that what you do? You smoke it? Okay. So he smoked opium and then fell asleep and had this dream and basically wrote Kubla Khan in his dream, right? To sake the sacred river elf, to walk the caves of ice, to break my fast on honeydew and drink the milk of paradise. Xanadu, right? Those are lyrics to a song by the incredibly talented band Rush, but it's based on Kubla Khan, okay? And so these altered states of reality can be very, very powerful, and people are starting to study that and realize that, maybe some of these plant medicines have incredible power to help people with psychiatric conditions and things like that. So it's a fascinating field, and, this stuff has been illegal in the U.S. because, to some extent, we have really silly laws sometimes. Not all of them. Some are great. Some are silly. We'll see. There's a whole new field opening up about all this stuff that's really quite fascinating. But the point is, the subconscious mind, how do we hack it? How do we use it? How do we make it work for us? See, a lot of people have dark imaginings, worries. Dale Carnegie wrote a great book many, many decades ago, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, right? And these worries that we all have, they can take over. And why do they take over? Well, it's because our subconscious mind imagines them as real. And many of these worries are just small potatoes. They're not a big deal, okay? Yet they consume us. Sometimes they lead us to absolute breakdown. They lead us to divorce. They lead us to financial ruin. They lead us to suicide. They're awful, these worries, these dark imaginings, because we continue to visualize them with detailed sensory perception, and our subconscious mind can't tell the difference. They think it's real when it's just a worry. It's just a dark imagining. It hasn't happened. It's just something you're predicting might happen. And guess what? What you predict and what you expect comes true. Someone who thinks that everybody is out to get them, or someone who thinks that everybody is a racist, well, guess what? They're going to project that belief into reality. And you know what's going to happen? Other people will do their best to try and live up to their expectations. And this creates the vicious cycle of where an imagining, a worry, just an idea becomes reality. It is literally, the seed is planted, it is created right out of a person's mind. It's not necessarily real. Reality is somewhat neutral most of the time, okay? Where we just create our reality. We are the author of our condition, right? And so that's why this is such a powerful thing, and I wanted to bring it to you today. I did want to talk to you about one other thing before we get to our sort of 10th show content, but I kind of dove right into it. So we'll save it for next week. But some really interesting stuff happening in the world of retail and how that affects real estate investors. Also, some really interesting stuff happening in the world of shipping that we will talk about next week, and how that affects the entire economy. Of course, real estate being a giant part of the entire economy. So we'll get to that stuff next week. Today, we don't have time to, so we'll keep it on our 10th show topic. And let's listen to this prior little segment I did about the power of visualization. And if we have time after that, maybe we'll just play one of my visualizations. Now, as you know, I used to do this every Saturday on the show here, but I took that off into a completely separate podcast, a separate feed, which is my guided visualization podcast. And I highly encourage you to subscribe to that. Do not listen to it while driving or operating heavy machinery, but it's great to listen to that. and literally become the author of your own future. Literally create your own future and create this great real estate portfolio that we're here to help you create. But first, it is created in your mind. And the guided visualization topics go through my 10 commandments of successful investing and really help you hone your investing skills. So check that out on any podcast platform. Just type in keywords like Jason Hartman visualization, okay? And you can get those guided visualization podcast episodes. But today, let's play this clip because many of you told me when it originally aired that it was extremely useful. So that's what we're going to do right now. For any investing information, if you need one of our investment counselors to assist you with anything at all, reach out to us at jasonhartman.com or by calling 1-800-HARTMAN. And here we go, talking a little bit more about guided visualization and the power of something you own free and clear, your mind. I discovered a book maybe around 1990 or so, maybe even earlier than that, by Shakti Gawain, who wrote a book called Creative Visualization. And our mind is so powerful that we can create our future by visualizing it repeatedly and with sensory specific detail. Because as it has been proven, the subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between something real and something vividly and repeatedly imagined. So this can work for us in a very, very powerful way. When we visualize our future and our goals and our plans with sensory-specific detail, in rich sensory-specific detail, vision, sound, touch, taste, smell, and emotion, it makes it that much more real. I discovered a program by a company called Cybervision. I'm not sure if they're still around or not, but it was a fantastic program. I bought it on cassette tape many years ago. It was entitled The Neuropsychology of Achievement, and it talked all about this visualization and this sensory-specific detail. And it talked about the history of how people have thought about how they have viewed the human brain. In the old days, they compared it to the current technology of the day. If that was a steam engine, they compared it to a steam engine. If it was another technology, they compared it to another technology. And in this neuropsychology of achievement program, they compared the brain to a hologram. And a hologram, of course, is created with lasers. And they talked about a scientist that I became really fascinated with, a neurosurgeon at Stanford University by the name of Carl Pribram. And I looked up his work and I studied it, and I just became fascinated with this topic of what Cybervision called holographic brain theory, and how when we visualize something in our mind, it becomes more and more real, and the achievement of that becomes more and more possible when we visualize it. Now, I've thought about and maybe made some leaps in logic, I don't know, about this theory over the years, and I asked myself the question, is our brain, is it a processor? I think most people would say it's a processor, right? It takes in information from our senses and it processes that information, whether it is a sound, whether it is someone's words that we hear or something that we read or something we see or taste or smell or feel. That feeling might be actual kinesthetic feeling or it might be an emotional feeling. So it processes this information. I think we'd all agree on that. But I would take it a step further than that. And I would ask, is the brain really just a processor, like your computer processes things, right? And now with artificial intelligence or AI, the computer can actually learn things and think things and do things on its own. And I know this technology that is coming our way quickly might be scary. Who knows how it'll turn out? Hopefully it won't turn out the way it did in the Terminator movies, right? But I would argue that the brain is not just a processor. I would argue that it's actually a generator. And here's what I mean by that. Kind of taking a bit of a leap from where Dr. Carl Pribram left off, where he talks about holographic brain theory. Think about what happens in our mind. When we have a thought, what is that thought? Well, that thought is a combination of chemicals and electricity. I think it's been said that the brain takes about 20 watts. That's about its energy consumption, around 20 watts, something like that. And it is the most energy demanding organ in our bodies. Yeah, I know, you wouldn't think. Thinking is actually quite tiring. It's quite energy intensive to think. That's why so few people are willing to do it. We're all cognitive misers, right? To some degree, right? It's easier to be mentally lazy. And it takes energy to think, just like it takes energy to go to the gym and work out. But if you look at this chemical and electrical phenomenon that creates thought, right? That electrochemical reaction, well, that can be measured. And it's measured outside of our skull. It can literally be measured outside of our skull. And so the woo-woo New Age people would say, well, everybody has an aura, right? And that aura has actually been measured, okay? With Kirlian photography, infrared photography, maybe you've watched some of these reality shows about the real-life Ghostbusters. I don't know. There's a lot of unexplained things that we just don't understand yet. And 100 years ago, a lot of stuff we do today would seem like magic or sorcery to people 100 years ago, right? So who knows what we'll discover in the future? The world is unfolding before us, and as I always say, it is an amazing time to be alive. But as we think, we're generating something. We're generating something, and that can be measured. And is it too much of a leap to say that if you compare your brain and its electrochemical reaction that is a thought, okay, that can be measured outside of your skull, outside of your head, you can measure that, okay, right? Not just in your head, you can measure it outside, right? It's a generator, maybe it's a generator. And whenever there is an electrical phenomenon, that can be measured, right? You can take instruments and put them near a magnet, an electromagnet, and measure the power of that magnet, right? Or you put a piece of metal near it and you can obviously firsthand see the power of it. You can put instrumentation next to a light bulb and you can measure the effect of the electricity outside of the light bulb, right? Not just in the light bulb, not just in the wires, but outside of it. Right? We've all experienced electrical interference. Maybe you put your phone next to something, your cell phone, and because of the electrical energy going through the air outside of that phone, it causes interference. That happens once in a while, not as much nowadays with, the frequencies are very well managed and insulation around the equipment is very good, but it still happens a little bit. So why wouldn't this be true of our brain? And if you can measure that, it has magnetism. So is it too much of a leap? And I don't know. I'm asking the question. But maybe in the future, we'll say, well, that was obvious. Why didn't they understand that back in 2019, right? Is it too much of a leap to say that if we visualize our goals with sensory-rich detail, vision, sound, touch, taste, smell, and emotion, and we do that repeatedly, that we are creating a magnetic field that can be measured outside of our head, outside of our skull. is that magnetic field attracting things to us? It's a fair question, I think. Now, I'm no brain scientist, okay? I'm just a hack. I'm an amateur. But it's an interesting question, I think, and I think it's a fair question, and it's probably not too much of a leap in logic to say that is happening. So if our dominant thoughts are about things that we're afraid of, if they're about things that we might lose, about worry, about anxiety, about problems, if that's what we're thinking about all the time, is it possible that we're actually attracting those things to us? And on the other side of the equation, what if our dominant thoughts are formed with sensory-specific, rich detail, vivid detail, vision, sound, touch, taste, smell, and emotion? And they are positive things. They are things we want, not things we don't want. They're things we do want. We want abundance. We want to have beautiful things in our environment, wonderful people in our environment, right? Financial security, good health, good relationships, whatever it is, right? If we think about those things over and over, and we discipline our mind, our brain. I know those aren't exactly the same. The mind and the brain are, a little different, but you get the idea, right? If we discipline ourselves to think in that way and to constantly try and keep those negative thoughts, and we all have them, of course. We all worry about stuff. I certainly do. But we keep those away from us as much as possible. We minimize the negative and increase the positive. Don't you think we will attract more of what we want in our lives? So use guided visualization as a powerful tool to achieve your goals. We talk a lot about income property investing on the show, and we do that 5 days a week. And this applies to that, right? Think about all the things with your properties you have to be grateful for. All the things that are working out well, right? As people, we tend to only focus on what's not working. I mean, I think that's a fair statement for a lot of us, maybe all of us. If we don't get the rent in time, if we are not self-managing and we have a property manager and they do something wrong, or there's a repair bill or something like that, right? We think about what goes wrong. But when things are going right, there's nothing happening. Nobody sends us an alert. We don't get an email. Things are going great. We don't really pay attention to what's going right, do we? There's old advice in parenting, catch your kids doing something right, right? And that's probably some good advice, right? Not just the stuff they're doing wrong. So this guided visualization can be a very powerful tool. And I hope you'll use it to increase the abundance in your life. And one way you can do that is you can join us, and this is the first announcement of this, by the way, for our upcoming Profits in Paradise event. Yes, we just booked it, and that will be October 26th and 7th, Saturday and Sunday, in beautiful Orlando, Florida. So if you've been thinking you need to visit Disney World or Epcot Center or any of the other many, many attractions in Orlando, come join us for Profits in Paradise. We'll have that up on jasonhartman.com real soon, and you can talk to your investment counselor about it as well. But I just want to wish you the very best, and I want to say, visualize the things you do want in your life with sensory-specific detail, with vivid detail, with rich detail. How will your future look? How will it sound? How will it feel? How will it taste? How will it smell? And what emotions will you experience when you have this future, right? Keep that in mind all the time and visualize in vivid detail the things you want. And whenever the negative stuff enters, the things you don't want, don't use these techniques. Use the opposite techniques. Instead of repeating them all the time to yourself and agonizing about them, instead of visualizing them in full color or repeating in your mind what someone said to you that you didn't like or how it made you feel, visualize it far off in the distance, in black and white, with no sound. That's how the negative things should be viewed in our lives. And we got to deal with them. We got to think about them, right? Because they happen to us all. There are lots of people out there who scam us and take advantage of things. And, there are bad people. And I don't deny for a moment evil exists, okay? It absolutely does. But let's visualize what we want with that sensory, specific, rich detail.
Welcome, fellow investors. As we prosper together on this journey of wealth and possibilities, find yourself in a comfortable position. Take a deep breath. Relax. Allow the stillness of this moment to guide you. Take another nice, long breath. Smile. Everything is going your way. Imagine your breath filling you up with confidence, certainty, and a knowing beyond that which you see. Your breath is now traveling through your body, starting at your feet, awakening the souls that hold you up. Prosperity is right here within. All you have to do is tap in. Bring your hands together, palms facing up, allowing yourself to receive all that you have earned, invested, manifested for your highest good and the good of others. All things are possible. Believe. You maintain control as a direct investor. You have control of your financial future. You are calmly reassured about your retirement. As a direct investor, you follow Jason's commandment number 3. Thou shalt maintain control. You know that people who relinquish control of their money leave themselves susceptible to 3 major problems. 1, they might be investing with a crook. 2, they might be investing with an idiot. 3, they will almost certainly be paying outrageous fees to the manager of the deal. You know that return of investment is more important than return on investment. As an educated, direct investor, you eliminate most of your investment risk because you are in control. Breathe. You now embody these truths as your own. I maintain control as a direct investor. I have control of my financial future. I am calmly reassured about my retirement. As a direct investor, I follow Jason's commandment number 3. Thou shalt maintain control. I know that people who relinquish control of their money leave themselves susceptible to 3 major problems. 1, I might be investing with a crook. 2, I might be investing with an idiot. 3, I will almost certainly be paying outrageous fees to the manager of the deal. I know that return of investment is more important than return on investment. As an educated, direct investor, I eliminate most of my investment risk because I am in control. Your breath gently moves through your legs, up your thighs, around your hips, releasing, rejuvenating, replenishing all that has been locked down. I allow success in. I prosper in perfect timing, in harmony with the universe, with all business transactions and relationships. Relax your hands. Your breath soothes, softens, and massages your belly, cradling your waist, moving up through your chest, expanding your back. Envision here your ultimate self, highest expression, greatest life. You are worthy infinite abundance, financial prosperity, optimal earnings. Smile. Everything is coming your way. Follow your breath through your neck, your face, and head, nodding yes to all that is and all that is becoming. I am a creative being with limitless possibilities. Feel your lightness and perfection as you delve into your next extraordinary and prosperous investment. You are a gift. Receive, believe, and so it is. Visit jasonhartman.com for more.
Thank you so much for listening. Please be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss any episodes. Be sure to check out the show's specific website and our general website, hartmanmedia.com, for appropriate disclaimers and terms of service. Remember that guest opinions are their own, and if you require specific legal or tax advice or advice in any other specialized area, please consult an appropriate professional. And we also very much appreciate you reviewing the show. Please go to iTunes or Stitcher Radio or whatever platform you're using and write a review for the show. We would very much appreciate that. And be sure to make it official and subscribe so you do not miss any episodes. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode.